Well, welcome.
I think one of the amazing things that, came out of this tragedy is that the amount of people that we've met just even through Facebook. And just a blessing that the whole autism community, they're a very, very tight group. And they just came right alongside of us. And the thing that encouraged us was getting emails or messages saying, don't stop, don't quit. We're behind you. We believe that he did not do this. So that has been so amazing and encouraging for us.
If I could just add on to that, I think, it's great to hear the impact that my brother made on people's lives, and his passion was to inform people, and particularly mothers. He had his heart for mothers to become educated, that they were wise to their own children, and they need to be informed and empowered to make decisions for them. But, to me, the backside of it is sad, because now this, general in the field of the battle against autism or cancer, for that matter, affected large in autism, and that's difficult, because there's a group of folks out there that were really counting on the opportunity to see Jeff, and then when he was taken out, it was like, now they're back to being hopeless again. It's like in Dr. Mercola's life, he's changed thousands and thousands of people's lives, and if he was just to stop practicing medicine, it would affect a lot of people. And that's to us, that's the sad point, because we have kids in our church that are autistic, and we look and go, well, we used to know somebody that could really help you out, and we can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But we make it an effort to continue on his work in the best way that we've been able to at this point. And, many people were like, well, do you even want to get involved with, the whole GCMAF thing? And it's like, yeah, because I'm so tired and fed up, like many people are, of when you learn the truth about what is really going on with our health, it just makes you angry, but it also inspires you to be the change and to be a positive change for people.
Well, that is so beautifully said. It's certainly true for us and so many people in our network that tragedies like this have only strengthened our resolve to expose these corrupt culprits and to get the truth out and get these healing cures out as well. So thank you for sharing all that, and feel free to come back on it if there's anything else you want to share during all of these conversations. And so with that, why don't we move on to a little discussion about what can we do before opening it up to the general interactions. So in the blog that I wrote on this a few weeks ago, we mentioned a few of these things, and I just want to review them and invite people to say anything else that they think can be effective to empower people to be effective and active. So one of the things, obviously, that on any of these areas, what we found is the first thing is always to get informed. And as you get more informed, share with others, even if it's socially uncomfortable. Pick your timing, but share it with people who you think are ready and capable to understand and integrate the information. And then use the media the same way that Aaron and Joe are using the media so effectively. And we're obviously trying to use whatever access we have to the media. And, send people to movies and to TV shows, documentaries like Joe's The Game Changer, like the documentary Grounded, and the Bought and Marketing of Madness, The Truth About Cancer, movies like that are exposing a lot of the scams and the truth about pharmaceuticals and disease. And I know that on the Mercola site, there's an incredible video library there that can give access to a lot of those things. I also want to highly recommend financial support. If any of you are out there wondering how you can help and you've got financial resources, offer them through Aaron's site or through what's called the IHCPO, which is a Native American Indigenous Healthcare Practitioners Organization that can take in funds to help get private investigators to find out the truth, to help with the families that have been affected by assassinations like this, and to find out the truth, to file lawsuits, to fund PR campaigns, and so forth. And Aaron, if you would, I would love it, while we're talking about media, if you would mention, just a few minutes before we came on this call, I saw for the first time the trailer for The Power to Cure that Brian Hammers is doing, and he's doing an Indiegogo campaign right on this topic, obviously, that you're going to be a consulting producer on. If you would talk a little bit about that, and then we'll post the link to the trailer and the Indiegogo campaign in our chat window. So could you talk a little bit about that project?
Sure, I'll keep it brief. Well, like the Bradstreets, because I showed it to them, we were all understandably leery when I got this email and Facebook note from this gentleman in LA and a young dad and husband, and he says he's made this treatment, and his wife is in it, and some other people, and so I clicked and wasn't really expecting much, like maybe in their living room with some cameras, and I was blown away by what I saw. It obviously is not. It is only based on the facts. It is not. I mean, he didn't have much to go on. He's just a young man, but what he put together and the money he spent of his own money, because he'd been following the stories and was so passionate and wasn't sure who to reach out or talk to. But I think his heart is in the right place. I believe that he wants to get the word out on this. He does work for TV and I think ESPN, but this was really the first film that he's making, and we have talked extensively because I wanted to make sure, kind of check him out, and I've talked to his wife and met the kids on Skype, and I believe that they have their heart in the right place, and that it is a very moving trailer, but again, is just kind of based on actual facts. It wouldn't be, he didn't know all the facts when he started making that treatment, but he is open with the Bradstreets or any families or myself helping to make it right, to get it as close as possible. And it's a very moving, and I can't imagine for the family, it's a difficult piece to watch, as you might have seen, and very moving. So.
Yeah. Well, anybody who's seen the movie The Big Short, you can see how powerful even a dramatic rendition can be in getting this reality, getting this way of thinking out to the world. And I don't know how many people know about David Crowley, but Kimberly and I, we were advised by our security experts to keep everything completely under the radar until Thrive was out, on thousands of hard drives in 10 languages in one day and all of that. And we always wondered, what had that been really a necessary precaution? And we'll never know. But David Crowley, who is an Army veteran, was making a movie called Gray State about the encroaching police state in the in America, and it was a combination of interviews with people like Alex Jones and Ed Griffin and so forth, interspersed with very well done dramatic scenes depicting what it's going to look like if we keep going into the police state that we're veering toward right now. And you can see the trailer online. Just look up Gray State. Super powerful. And unfortunately, a year ago Christmas, he and his wife and his 5-year-old daughter were found all shot in their cabin in the woods. And of course, the police said, oh, it's a murder-suicide because he must have had PTSD. Now, he had just been offered an extra $30 million from Hollywood to complete this film. This was his life's mission and so forth. So it is a risky endeavor, but it's a very powerful endeavor. So my takeaway from this is anytime there's a chance to support someone who is willing to take the risk, like what's his name? You're from Brian, yeah, Brian Hammers. Someone who's willing to take the risk and step out and talk about this stuff. Support them with funds. Support them with whatever media you can, both to raise the money and to get this information out. Okay, so
I want to say one other thing I think that can be really helpful, and it's something I'm personally engaged with a lot, is that using the information about how the powers that be, encroach on the progress that is being made, whether it's in our insights, our whistleblowing, our new technologies in all the different sectors, to then really develop the systems and the strategies for how to move money in ways that it can't be confiscated through the SWIFT system, and develop open source in a way that doesn't mean that you have to give up everything. Figure out the ways to have a license for something that can both produce revenue and at the same time get the knowledge out of one person's head. Like, there are specific strategies that minimize the extent to which someone's a target, and also share it so that it really can get in the minds and creativity and engage the creativity and innovations of so many others at the same time. So I think there's a way to use all of this bad news. I know there is, because it's what I do and have been doing all these years, to use it to help inform my strategic solution thinking. It's like, all right, so if the whole patent process is corrupt, then what can we do to create something that isn't patent dependent in order to get it out here? Or if something, that's just one of many examples. But I think open source is going to be a huge player on this, because I think engaging people is a way that we really take advantage of the group mind and get safe at the same time. So that's one of the ones that intrigues me. And I think about these like structures for fulfillment and kind of the strategy behind getting it so that we can use how it's corrupt to make something that can safely come out. And it's why, one of the things about our work, it's so comprehensive, looking at the banking and how that happens, looking in the health industry and how it happens there, looking with the environmental stuff and how that goes, and how is Monsanto structured in its whole corporate structure, just to be able to pull off what it does. Like, I look behind the scenes at all these things and then can come up with a more comprehensive strategy that can work for anybody in any of those fields to bypass the ways that they have of getting in the way. And that really happens with moving the money. And fortunately, there are alternative systems coming up all over the place now for everything from moving money to communicating more effectively. Like, certainly understanding the surveillance helps inform the kind of encryption technologies that are needed, and, just how we can actually be communicating safely with one another. So I think it's important to remember that, because, and we can talk about this in the co-creative couple conversation about how it works to not get bogged down, because I think having a commitment to not being in fear, I certainly have that commitment, and fear isn't really so much the thing as just every now and then going, holy smokes, they really got this thing worked out, on a lot of different fronts. So, okay, here we go, and get back on the horse, and really help each other to do that. And I think that happens as we stay connected with each other also. And it's like, oh yeah, like, I was so inspired by the article, Sarah and Elizabeth, that you did with this unintended series. It was so transparent and informed and real and heartfelt that it helped anybody looking into anything that's kind of hard to stomach. And I think the more that we know of each other and help share each other's work and just have it be known that we're all in this together, it's encouraging for me.
While we're talking about solutions, Joe, would you be willing to give a brief overview of this 3BP development? And we can put a link in chat on where people can see the conversation with you and Mr. Christofferson.
Well, 3BP is short for 3-bromopyruvate, which is a metabolite that inhibits a specific enzymatic pathway for cancer. But really, it's a small artifact of the central discussion, which is that nearly 85 years ago, Dr. Otto Warburg was an MD, PhD, the most brilliant biochemist of the 20th century, discovered the metabolism of cancer. His lifelong ambition was to find a cure for cancer. And he was personal friends with Einstein and Max Planck, and he was a brilliant guy. But his ideas never took off. Instead, it focused on the genetic theory. And Travis wrote a book, The Metabolic Theory of Cancer, which is just really phenomenal in exposing that whole transition of the focus on genetics and a shift away from the metabolic mitochondrial components, which that dysfunction leads to the genetic nuclear damage that contributes to cancer. So if anyone has cancer, we're looking at 1 in 2 basically in the country developing at one point in their life. So I'm sure almost everyone watching this either has or knows someone very close to them who has it. So I would strongly recommend picking up the book. You can go to my website and just type in Travis Christofferson, and I did an interview with him that was published last Sunday, and it was really well received. And as one of my health practices, I walk on the beach for between an hour and 2 hours a day, and I read 150 books last year. And this was the best book I read. I mean, it was by far. No book came close. So it's because it really exposes a novel approach. So I would strongly recommend getting it to understand this. And it motivated me to write a new book, which I'm in the process of doing, that I hope will explain some more detail. But the time doesn't really allow to go into specifics, but the article last week in the video interview I did with Travis goes into more details.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's a super exciting development. When I heard that of all the information that you process in a year, that was the one that compelled you the most. I went right after that. And if anybody can help spread the word on that, the more people know about this development, the more apt it is to get out. I know in the interview, you and Travis talk about how it got bogged down for at least a year in academic bureaucracy. I hope that doesn't continue.
Well, that was the 3BP, which is sort of a side tangent, but Dr.
Okay.
Young Ko is a Korean scientist who developed it. I don't know many people personally who would warrant a Nobel Prize, but should definitely get a Nobel Prize. I mean, the woman is brilliant, humble, and really, I guess, represents a lot of the people that you connect with in the free energy movement too.
Great. Okay, any one of the panelists have anything else you want to offer to the what can we do discussion before we open it up to the larger group?